Hello again, thanks so much for joining us. And gosh, it feels like we've been doing this a bunch here recently, doesn't it? We are introducing a brand new head coach for Carolina Athletics. This time we're heading to volleyball, and Mike Schall. Coach, congratulations. What a exciting day this must be for you.
It has been, Jones, and I'm just honored to be named the next head volleyball coach. And we had the chance to tell the team this morning they've been on pins and needles, and it was a great moment that we had in the locker room together.
So, of course, Coach, you've been here as an assistant at Carolina for the last several years. What has this process been like for you? Why was this a position that interested you when Coach Segula elected to retire after more than 30 years?
Yeah, being here at Carolina gives you such a feel of what this university means, what the athletic program means, what this volleyball program means. It's such an honor. I think it's something that, having been in this environment, there wasn't any other place that I wanted to go. And in fact, going back to what brought me to Carolina in the first place, I was in the club world for a little bit. I had started at Penn State, but being in the club world, I had had some different opportunities to get back into college coaching.
Right.
And my wife and I had had a conversation after one opportunity came up, and I quickly said, no, I'm not interested. We love where we live. Our family was growing up here. And she said, is there any place you would? And I said, well, there's one place, and that's at Carolina. And about a month after that happened, Joe called. And he said he was running through a list of candidates. It's when his staff had left to go to the University of Tennessee.
Right.
And he called and he was running through a list of candidates. And at the end of the conversation, he said, what about you? And I paused and I said, this was the one place I would consider. And in typical Joe Segula fashion, I was on campus on that Monday. We had about a 6-hour conversation, and it was just the right thing. And I'm so glad that we made that move. But taking over the program is just a really exciting time. We have a great group of young people. We have great recruits coming in. I couldn't be more excited for the future and seeing where we can go.
So you've been in the volleyball world for a while, more than a decade at Penn State, then you mentioned in the club level for a long time as well. How did all of those experiences shape you to where you are now?
Yeah, there's one really important part of my career that happened before any of that. I won't take you back through my life story, but when I was 3 years old, my father started a boys volleyball program at the high school he was teaching at the high school I ended up going to. And my father was my first great coaching mentor, and probably still the one that has had the most influence over me throughout my life. So I grew up in the gym, and I just lived in one of those areas of the country where boys volleyball was incredibly popular. And my dad happened to be not just an unbelievable coach, but a great teacher and somebody that had an incredible impact, not just on the players he coached, but on the community. And there were years when he coached, and this is a small rural high school in Pennsylvania, there were 50 boys that would try out for the team. And it's like, why did that happen? And so much of my coaching style, how I approach the profession, really came from him. But then I was so fortunate to be at Penn State for 12 years under Coach Russ Rose. And then transitioning into the club world, I got a glimpse of developing players, developing young people, to really fine-tuning my skills at teaching the game at all levels. And then, of course, when the opportunity at Carolina came, it was just too good to pass up.
Had the opportunity here recently to speak to Joe Segula, and he talked a lot about how he felt like Carolina Volleyball was in a pretty good place, that there had been such a good foundation there, but he also said that he felt like it was time for someone else to help Carolina take that next step. How in your mind, what are the next couple of things that need to happen for the Tar Heels to go from a very good program to potentially a great program?
Yeah. Well, it's no secret that the conference as a whole, the ACC conference, has gotten more and more competitive over the years. Last year, Pitt and Louisville are in the Final Four, and Louisville ultimately being in the NCAA finals. And they have set the bar really high. I love the group that we have coming back, the recruits coming in. I think the foundation is there, and I think our next step is just how we play the game, how we train to play the game, playing with a lot of courage, playing with a lot of energy. You know, we want to be a team that people love to watch, but hate to play. You know, we're going to prepare them well, but we're going to play an exciting brand of volleyball on our side of the net. And you know, the popularity in our sport is growing immensely. You know, you have crowds of 15,000 people at certain places, and it's an exciting time to be at Carolina because I think the growth is ahead of us for sure.
Carolina has always prided itself in its head coaches, and there's some incredibly successful head coaches here on campus. What does it mean to you to now join that fraternity of coaches here at Carolina?
Yeah, it's an honor. When I was growing up, my younger brother was a huge Dean Smith fan, and not that I wasn't, but he was especially a Dean Smith fan. And going back then, when you look at the history of the head coaches at Carolina, like it's an unbelievable group. And I've been fortunate over the past 5 years to really learn from some of them. Scott Forbes has become a very good friend of mine. Dana Durante, you know, who's recently taken over the gymnastics program, has been a great friend, and just so many others at the university that it becomes this collaborative effort to help everybody be at their absolute best. And it's really an honor to be a head coach at the University of North Carolina. And I'm going to be honest, it hasn't sunk in yet. It's been a fast day, but it really hasn't sunk in yet. But I'm super excited to get started.
Just a few more things. What are the next steps in your mind? I know it's day one here, but what are your first couple of things on the agenda that you feel like are important?
Yeah, continuing to train the team in the spring. I've been fortunate over the last month. I've simply approached it like I'm going to be the head coach. Our players deserved that. And if it didn't happen, then they were still going to be ahead of where we were. So just continuing to train the team at a high level, bringing in 2 top assistants that can help support that. But again, like just going through the process of the spring to continue to develop our players and develop our team. We are fortunate we have a lot of returning players. We have 11 who are training with the team in the spring. So just continuing their development as we go throughout the spring. And then, you know, gear up for the fall. Our scheduling is pretty well taken care of. So all of those agenda items are, you know, front and center right now. But getting a competitive schedule put together that's going to help prepare us for the ACC schedule in the fall. Was
this process stressful? I mean, I have to man a lot of meetings, a lot of interviews, a lot of people to talk to during this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the uncertainty, you know, we decided as a team, I decided as a coach that we're going to embrace the uncertainty and how are we going to deal with it. I mean, these are lessons that the players can take with them forever. So I made it a point with them to be really transparent through the whole process. And just for them to understand the process we were going through, I think really helped us out in the uncertainty. But stressful, absolutely. I was walking in the upper quad on Thursday when Bubba called me. And I told the players this morning as we were giving them the news, I looked at my phone and, you know, it said Bubba Cunningham, and I had this thought, like, these next 5 seconds are going to determine a lot about what this looks like moving forward. So yes, it was a stressful time, but we're thrilled with the end result.
Coach, finishing up, I know this has been a long process. I know a bunch of people you probably want to thank after this.
Sure. It starts at home. My wife and I have been married almost 25 years now, and she has been through the entire coaching journey with me, as well as my 4 kids, Belle, Sam, Andrew, and Mia. And that's where it all starts. But also, I'm just so appreciative of my coaching mentors, Russ Rose, and for the last 5 years, Joe Segula here. But then the Board of Trustees at the University of North Carolina, Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz, Bubba Cunningham, Dwight Hollier, and all of the people who were part of this decision-making process have been fantastic throughout.
Congratulations, Coach, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Jones.
Thanks so much for joining us.